Question for Paul, Craig, and for you. Can you envision a scenario that if this process continues to drag out until, let's say, the end of April, which would be about a month from now, without a deal being reached, that any of the Pac-12 members will just say enough is enough and exit the conference?
No, because, again, like the deadline is on our minds. Like we think that. They clearly think differently, because I do think that if there was I think you would probably see more outward panic if there was like a drop-dead date that was really real at this point to them.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change. I think that we're probably in the end days of this. I can only see this lasting for so much longer. I mean, I definitely don't foresee this. And I'm not, speaking obviously with any inside knowledge, but just the waves that we've been riding these last few months. I mean, it just feels as though this last delay is probably them just ironing out the details. At least that's what the indications are. If we're sitting here a couple months from now and this is still going on, like you said, that's going to make me wonder, but I still don't think anybody's bolting. I think it would have to be so, and I've said this the entire time, I think it would have to be just egregious of an offer that you just simply are like, that's disrespectful. Like, we have to walk away from this. I mean, it would have to be literally Brett McMurphy, like your games are on Ion and you're making half of what the Big 12 is making, and then you'd have no choice. Academics be damned. You'd have no choice though to have some level of financial positives and exposure coming your way. And I don't think that will be that type of a deal. I think it'll be much better than that, especially if all of the rumored parties involved are involved. So yeah, I don't believe that for 1 second. But the longer it does go on, and the more there's messaging one day that says, hey, we'll look out for this day, and then that day comes up and absolutely squat happens, and that happens a few times and adds up, then you see why there's the fervor that's, there's the blood in the water, but I still think they're all going to stick together.
And the Arizona president did mention, I think, the actual date of April the 15th, and who knows if that was just something he put out there, or is that something that they feel like by then there would be something to discuss even deeper. By the way, Justin R., technically, the drop-dead date would be July 31st of 2024. The next day, they would be free to leave for another conference because of the grant of rights running out for the newest or the most current deal. Let's see, from Provo Cougar fan, Kliavkoff and the Pac-12 presidents may be holding all details until May. College football's portal closes to avoid a loss of talent. I don't even know if that's on their mind. But appreciate the thought as well, Provo, and then also from Justin.
I really only think there's about 10 schools that can at any time make a kid just go, oh, I can go there, I'll go there. And then that leaves 300 others that you can go to if you're in the transfer portal. So since there's only like 10 schools that can really do that, where you could, if you're the best wide receiver at Arkansas State and Alabama has a need for a wide receiver, you put your name in the portal and they call you, you're going to go there. But all the rest of it, is in constant flux. So I don't really think that's an issue. And the way you see with the transfer portal now, most of the people who go in it just stay in there forever. So I don't think that I don't think that's really a factor in their decision.
Kim Coulter, go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's an interesting thought, but I don't think that has much to do with it either. I mean, that would be a pretty 3D chess move, right, on the part of the Pac, that they've got all this going on and they're thinking with the foresight to, avoid transfer portal losses, not just for themselves, but for the entire conference. I think that would take a lot of coordination and agreements when clearly that is not nearly as much of an issue, at least publicly, as the issue that's been talked about at length publicly. Like if Caleb Williams and all these guys started talking about, like, we're going to leave after this spring or something, then maybe everybody would have to get together. But there's nothing like that on the horizon. So, yeah, I think they're just simply trying to get it done. It's taken a while. It's taken a while for various reasons. Now, perhaps some people have gotten a little bit too confident and said some things that, created timelines or expectations that aren't going to be met or weren't realistic or what have you. And that's why it's just added more, gas to the fire. But I still do believe that ultimately they will knock it out and get it done, at some point, and everything will pretty much stay as is, save for, the possibility, like I, been saying a lot, is I'm interested in that SMU San Diego State piece. Like, that's the piece that I'm really intrigued to see what happens there, and perhaps they add those schools, perhaps they don't. But I do think that will be the moves, if any moves are made.
Kim Coulter saying, Kim says, outside of the Pac-12, 10 alums, how many people, fans across America, give a flying crap about the Pac-10 or 12 academics? I would argue very little to none. It is a default argument, just like the endowment, that when, okay, well, we don't have much to watch. I'm not talking, this is not just the Pac-10, 12. This is a lot of everyone around America. Okay, well, we don't have a lot of people who watch us, but we have the best endowment. Or we have higher academics, or we're R1 or AAU. Am I right? We kind of saw that flare up.
Look, here's how
and
I'll
I'm not saying
simplify it.
and a lot of people are incredibly proud of what they are, who they're from as far as their academic standing.
Where the academics come and tying people together is if the conference, like the Big Ten, did have an overall goal of like, we are going to have all AAU schools.
Right.
And then that was their goal. So like they set that out, and so that was out there. But that was one round of realignment. How I think the academic thing really helps in realignment now, or to keep teams together, or to move the process one way or the other is that the people who are going to, if you're school A that wants to go to a new conference, you have to convince a lot more people than are just the ones who like sports. Sometimes you have to convince higher academics who don't really know if a football is pumped or stuffed. They don't care. It doesn't register on their board. They are just people who are there. Like listen to some of the questions that they asked at the UCLA meeting in the board, where you're like, do you guys not like read a book about this or like a memo before you came in here? They ask those questions because they don't know, because it's not their field. So if you can easily say, well, if we do this, not only are we going to make $25 million more a year for athletics, we are going to be able to jump into a research grant partnership with someone for this much more money, then you are speaking their language. Then it's a win-win for everybody. But ultimately, if you're the UCLA and USC, you don't even have to make that pitch. You're like, look, we're going to make $30 million more a year. Look at all the research grant. I don't have to tell you how much money they have in the Big Ten for, research on anything. We're doing this, and then that's all you have to do. Now, other things probably get more convoluted, but ultimately that's where it is.
All right, let's break here and then come back. There was a story that